I have pushed the first button. Morning, James. I'll get James first blood. Oh, yes, Lord. Looks like we both barely needed a top up, though. Good morning, Megan. Jamie. How you doing? Let's do this. All right. In all fairness, I do need to come up with a good solution to do split headphones so that we've both got a set of headphones at the desk for days like today when we've got a couple of clips to watch. Good morning, everybody. How you doing?
I'm okay, and per Legion's complaint, great. The odd day I show up, it's a fluff piece. What? Sugar, you can fluff my piece any day.
Awful. Anywho. Not so much a fluff piece. And Legion, if you have not, well, for any of you, let me just get into it. So, Steven Crowder did a thing. He wrote an academic paper, which he got peer-reviewed, then submitted and got accepted to speak at a conference. What was the Massey University, I think? There's an annual Fat Studies conference at Massey University. We're going to be talking about fat studies. And this is actually something important to talk about, because this is why the gas is so high. This is why your public school teachers are not just attempting to mutilate your children's genitalia, but attempting to codify its requirement. This is why the kids are stupid. This is why a good sergeant can't just find a solid private who can dig a freaking hole. What Steven Crowder did is hilarious. It really is. And if you haven't watched this video yet, I'll have to go back and add a link somewhere for you guys. But it's not hard to find. You literally just Google or search on YouTube Crowder Fat Studies, and it'll bring you right to it. It's like a 17-minute video. About 10 minutes of it is the actual presentation It's got about 5 or 6 minutes of setup and 2 or 3 minutes of kind of closing thoughts. But the presentation itself, he sits down and presents this absolutely deadpan, like he's serious as a heart attack. But no shit, he wrote a totally fake paper, and it got peer reviewed and accepted to presentation at an academic studies lecture. So he created a persona out of whole cloth, put her forth as a character named C. Massey. Oh, I'm sorry, C. Matheson. Put her forth as an academic expert on fat studies. Wrote a paper entitled "Embracing Fatness as Self-Care in the Era of Donald Trump," and presented this paper to an academic conference. Not only did he manage to get the paper through peer review and accepted into the conference, but after he presented his paper, which we'll get into a little bit more in a minute, they celebrated it. They applauded him. They went so far as to invite him to come onto panels to peer review other papers in the same academic space. This is how you get where we are today. Our entire educational system, the university system down to the public kindergarten, has been infiltrated and poisoned by absolute psychopathy. And it would be one thing if we were finding this going on in just goofy victim studies courses, but it doesn't stop there. It started there. And so let's take a look at this a little bit. Here's the article from Louder with Crowder. Crowder goes undercover to present a paper to a real conference of fat studies scholars. Will they be able to tell he's an imposter? Watch to find out.
Spoiler alert.
Yeah, and they didn't notice. This is literally a man in a fat suit. This is a man in a fat suit in drag. And let me show you the introduction so you understand.
Hello, I am C. Matheson. I am an activist based out of Austin, Texas, specifically working with the non-binary and fat community to help increase presence of intersectional and non-binary people with such events in Austin as Women's March, March for Our Lives, most recently the global climate strikes. My preferred pronouns are she and her.
Okay, so when this person, this is...
Move that over there. I can hear it.
Okay. So when this person says, I worked with the March for Life, the Women's March, let's not forget, Crowder went to the Women's March in drag and was allowed to approach senators and House representatives in drag without any security precautions because he was brave and beautiful. Right? And we're talking about Steven Crowder here. I guarantee you he was armed at the time. Even in drag. Which he should be. And I'm generally comfortable with that. But guaranteed, if it were Steven Crowder and not a character that he was playing in drag, they would have frisked him. Same thing would have happened to me. Legion says, sorry, it's just cringe. No, it gets far worse. Like the rest of the introduction, for example.
And my paper, Embracing Fatness as Self-Care in the era of Donald Trump is something I'm thrilled to be presenting and has been accepted here at the New Zealand Fat Studies Conference 2020. Because of our current leader's bigotry, fatness, I will argue, acts as a distancing mechanism from the president, as well as his supporters, producing both physical and ideological space that can insulate the individual from intolerant, bigoted, or violent ideology.
So, no shit. What they clearly did here is they sat down and they wrote a list. We're just going to cram as many bullshit buzzwords as we can into this paper so that we can present it like it's legitimate academia. So I'm going to bring your attention for a moment to...
Hey, real quick.
Can we do the Sokol affair first? Or we do,
sure, real quick.
We'll do the other one first.
Real quick. Danny's asking a legit question. Is the character supposed to be an actual woman or a trans woman?
Oh, that's actually a good question. I don't know. I'm assuming that the expectation is that the character is actually a woman. Because the focus of the paper is the fat thing, and even though he makes some commentary about transphobia and the like, the focus on the fatness of the broad, because she broad, is so much more important for this particular context. I think that it's supposed to be a woman and not a trans woman. It's not like the Ukrainian trans girl who is pretending to be a man and is now pretending to be a girl so that she can leave the country because the men are expected to stay. And so it had to put on makeup and girly clothes to be allowed to leave as a refugee. So she, who pretends to be a man, is pretending to pretend to be a girl so she can shirk the responsibilities expected of her while she's pretending to be a man. But hey, and that's a whole thing.
Man, so speaking of trans and tangentially related, Leah Thomas, the swimmer, is totally comparable to Jackie Robinson.
Are their dicks the same size?
No. You should Google it because the civil rights struggle of Leah Thomas is exactly the same as the civil rights struggle of Jackie Robinson.
Did Jackie Robinson trip on his dick while he was running?
No. Look, I was just throwing it in for color because we were talking about trans stuff. Because
I'm telling you, man, the first time you step on your own nuts in the shower, it's an eye opener. So, let's go back to 2018 for just a moment, and we're going to go back a little further. So in 2018...
God, this was just 2018?
Yeah. James Lindsay, Helen Pluckrose, and Peter Boghossian, 3 U.S. researchers have pulled off a sophisticated hoax by publishing fake research with ridiculous conclusions in sociology journals to expose what they see as ideological bias and a lack of rigorous vetting at these publications. 7 of the 20 fake articles written by the trio were accepted by journals after being approved by peer review committees tasked with checking the author's research. And I don't remember if this article has it, but there's a... oh God. Okay, so the list isn't here, but the list was... There was one, like the one that they show the picture for, one of them was titled something like... Public dog walking parks are petri dishes for canine rape culture. There were several about bizarre sex toy fetishes. One of the papers, which was peer reviewed and accepted for publication, they literally just took a chapter of Mein Kampf, and everywhere that it said Jew, they replaced Jew with straight white male, and published it without changing another word. It was peer reviewed and accepted and published.
I like how those researchers were accused of ethical violations.
Right.
Like, somehow they were the bad guys?
So, the first time this happened, it was called the Sokol affair. God, I hate Wikipedia. But Wikipedia's got the information here, so so the Sokol affair, or the Sokol hoax, was a scholar named Sokol who did the same thing, and I want to bring your attention to this paragraph in particular, where we've got a quote from him explaining what the project was. The article, "Transgressing the Boundaries Towards a Transformative Hermeneutics of Quantum Gravity," was published in the journal Spring-Summer 1996 Science Wars issue. It proposed that quantum gravity is a social and linguistic construct. At that time, the journal did not practice academic peer review, and it did not submit the article for outside expert review by a physicist. 3 weeks after its publication in May 1996, Sokol revealed in the magazine Lingua Franca that the article was a hoax. And down here, there's a... Where is it?
Well, okay, here's what's funny, though, okay? Yes, there's the layer of it wasn't submitted to peer review for a hoax, but I'm just an armchair scientist kind of a guy. I just find this stuff interesting. And you could have just handed me the paper that's like, oh yeah, we know what quantum gravity is, and it's a social construct. And I would not have needed to read the rest of the paper. I'd have been able to just go, yeah, but no, it's not. You're going to have to just try again completely, because we're not entirely sure about quantum mechanics or gravity. They're kind of right at the edge of what science can explain. So that's just funny.
And Sokol said of the project that his expectation was, as long as it sounded good and was ideologically flattering to the likely participants of the peer review board, that it would be accepted. And that was the experience. That was the experiment. That was the purpose of the experiment. And basically, he proved that all you have to do is agree ideologically, and then the science doesn't matter, right? So, like you see, we've talked about the signs in the yards that say, "We believe
in science.
That science is real." No, you don't. And I'm going to come back. So I've got 4 clips. I'm going to come back to that one in a minute. I think this is the one.
Okay, what do I mean by that? It says, I do not conform. I do not submit. I decide what I do with my body and no one else. Not you, not a medical professional, and
like
certainly not Donald.
I decide what I do with my body. My body, my choice. Oh, okay. Not you, not a medical professional. Now, obviously, Crowder is having a laugh at these people. But they were absolutely enamored by this. And these are the people who are teaching the people who are teaching your children. The people who celebrate psychopathy, like that which Stephen Crowder is lampooning in this project. You look at the world of academia, and let's go to climate change for a moment, right? There's a reasonable argument that the climate is changing. Why? Because that's the definition of what a climate is. But all the evidence surrounding anthropogenic climate change, and that it's catastrophic, and that we can solve it by simply spending trillions and trillions of dollars, let's keep in mind, was generated by academicians who got caught faking data to support the claims that they made. And it's still taken as absolute gospel enough so that it drifts our policy decisions at the highest levels of government. Part of how that happens is the academic review process is a joke. It's not just a joke, it's corrupt as hell. So a paper like this gets peer-reviewed, published in journals, and then the libraries buy it. And by the libraries, I mean all of them. Now, 80% of papers published in the humanities disciplines go forever uncited. So a little context on that. The point to publishing these papers is that you are making claims as an expert in a field, and those claims will be used in part to bolster the claims, or at least give a start-off point for other research projects to further the entire human race's understanding of significant scientific work. But 80% of those go uncited, which means they get published. Then all the libraries buy a copy at taxpayer expense, and then that copy sits on a shelf or in an archive and just sits there gathering dust. Essentially, you can think of 80% of academicians as pure government teat parasites who are stealing your money to fund their lies so that they can go on, and then even if their papers don't get cited, they end up teaching kids. They end up being instructors, professors, and the like, and they still get to pour their poison right into our sweet little ears. That should terrify and infuriate every single one of you. So there's a lot of laughs to be had at the gag that Crowder pulled here. But when at the end of it, they didn't catch him, and let me bring up the next clip, because y'all got to understand, when I say at the end of it, they didn't catch him. How they didn't catch this.
Gained a significant amount of weight. At first, I will say I was driven to shame by my friends and family. They would say things like, you need to take better care of yourself. And at this point, to be clear, I did not yet identify as fat.
I didn't yet identify as fat.
One day, however, all of that changed. I was fueling my vehicle at a nearby gas station, and as I was collecting my receipt, a man reached out and tried to touch me, sexually. Okay. And I had a realization that I wasn't worried. Now, why was I?
So, that right there, reached out and tried to touch me, sexually. So he's churched it up, he's prettied it up a little bit, but let's be clear. Remember, the title of the paper is what was it? Embracing Fatness as Self-Care in the era of Donald Trump. Right? So clearly he's having a gas here at the whole grab him by the pussy gag. But it gets better. It gets so much better.
Was I not worried? Because I understood that in that moment, because of what at this point I was referring to as my freshman pounds, my newfound fat, this stranger, regardless of his determination, would have far greater difficulty in grabbing my genitalia without my consent.
I got to give the man credit here, because he said that all with a straight face. You
know how many times he probably practiced?
I bet.
Staring in the mirror.
He couldn't grab me by my female genitalia because my fat blocked him. He's making the case that fat is healthy because it makes you more bullet resistant. Fat soldiers may be slow, but they require more bullets to put them down. Right, Mario?
You know, the thing that, and I even remember at the time when the whole grab 'em by the pussy controversy came around, like the women that were the most offended by it were the women who were never.
Yeah, they were in no danger.
They were in no danger.
They were totally safe.
Right? And it's just, and it's funny, like, I wonder what kind of underlying, like, psychological current exists here where a lot of these relatively unattractive women are so convinced that, like, there's this patriarchy that just wants to, like, handmaidens tale them, like, for eternity, right? Because it's like, I don't think you understand, like, let's say this was C. Matheson. Oh my God, it's actually spelled C.
Oh, yeah.
In, like, ocean. oh. But if this person existed...
and Matheson is Matheson is a reference to Matheson Bay, where they...
Look,
manatees. Oh, yeah. They went all out. One might even go so far as to say that Crowder went balls deep into this character.
But if this person was real, okay, they would be so unattractive to the majority of us. Like, I was at a gas station and somebody tried to grab that by the genitals. No, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
No, it didn't.
It didn't happen.
No, how do you know?
How do I know? I know because 75% of all hate crimes reported turn out to be hoaxes. That's how I know.
Oh, that's not how I know. I knew.
Because I could look at her?
Because I had eyeballs.
I have
that's
eyes.
Correct. That's right. I might need glasses, but...
And then I think this is the last... Yeah, this is the last clip.
J. Trump. It is a visible statement that says, keep your distance. I am not one of you. I don't have to be one of you. Arbitrary standards of so-called health do not rule me. They do not rule over me. I will not participate in your bullying as a society. I am an individual.
Buzzword.
I am here, and I am resisting. Fat is here, and it is not silent. Thank you again. I am C. Matheson.
Like the little mouth pop.
Oh, yeah.
Like, it's the little things.
It's like he
that
sat
build a
down and
character.
watched 38 hours of Karen characteristics. And I'm sorry, Aunt Karen. I hate the use of the word Karen in that way, too.
Probably not as much as
because it's
her.
amusingly racist. But this right here, Scott Adams said it best. He said, well, what about the teachers' unions? Fuck them. They are your enemy. Now, they do what they do and they do it well, and it's rational to expect an organization like a teachers' union to act in its own self-interest. Trying to make it so that the teachers that are members of its union, paying its dues, are harder and harder to get rid of.
I mean, that's the main reason you join a union.
That's the main reason you join a union. Yep.
Then you have somebody has your back.
You join a union to organize theft. So that you can organize the causing of harm
No, you create
to someone
a union.
who is outside of the union.
No, you create a union to organize theft. You join a union. Most people that join unions, like, I remember when I worked for A&P grocery store and they wanted me to join the union. And I mean, and it was, oh yeah, man, but, and if they ever try and fire you and like all these different benefits. And then even at 14 years old, I had enough presence of mind to ask the question, well, how much does this cost?
Yeah. Half.
And then when they start, well, you got to understand. No, I understand. I understand. That's why I'm asking how much it cost. And then again, it was, well, you got to understand. Yeah, but how? And then it actually wasn't going to be half. It was going to be about a third of my paycheck. Like, nope. Well, what if you? Nope. But nope.
Yeah, I had the same experience with the IBEW.
Those electricians?
Yep.
Yep. See? Golly.
Yep. You're not getting half my money. That was when I was talking to the when I was approached by the IBEW, not like the organization itself, but members who were trying to get us into unions. First, I had to take a 50% pay cut to get to start in as an apprentice when I was already working at journeyman level. And then after I took a 50% pay cut, then I had to start paying like 25% of my remaining 50% in union dues. And that was before I started having to shell out to pay for the benefits that the union offered after the dues. Dad says easy on unions. They created the middle class. There was unions are like they're like racist jokes. There was a time and a place for them.
Well, I mean, atomic energy ended World War II.
It did.
I'm not saying we need to drop more nukes, though.
Neither am I. We have much more effective mass casualty devices that don't leave fallout. I'm a big fan of the Moab, but yeah, the unions. It is fair to say that they helped create the middle class, but their time is over. The unions have been corrupted to just an unfathomable degree, and none of the remaining unions are valuable to anybody except for the union officials themselves. Today, they're basically just another Planned Parenthood, laundering money for the Democrat National Committee and engaging in political activism. They're not a good thing today. And they haven't been for a long, long time. So, but we're going to go ahead and put a pin in it there. And we will see you tomorrow. You got anything to close on? All right. Y'all take care.